This is the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game.
Rule number one is you have to believe in yourself. You're the only one who doesn't think you belong in this appointment. The prospect has already validated your existence by scheduling time with you. Get it through your head you belong here, go in there, crush it, and close the deal.
A place where sales professionals can come to learn from other sales professionals and thought leaders that have mastered their craft.
The difference between a good salesperson and a best-in-class salesperson is only 2 minutes. By spending an extra 2 minutes on what you might think is a mundane task in the sales game, you separate yourselves from the pack, you grow your book of business, you close more deals, and you retain your accounts.
As well as their peers who are still striving for perfection to achieve their why.
I have a wife and 4 kids. Failure is not an option.
Real sales professionals, real stories, real results.
It's no different than being a professional baseball player. You can't be a one-trick pony. You have to be a 5-tool player in order to succeed in this game.
This is the Power Producers Podcast, production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Power Producers Podcast. Today our guest is Michael Overstreet, and if you don't know who he is, you don't have questions about your personal insurance that you have searched YouTube for, because this guy produces video content like I change my socks.
That's right.
Michael, it is awesome to have you, man. How's it going? How's the weather out there in Arizona?
It is hot, and you know what? It's like 106 degrees today, and the AC in my office went out. So I'm sitting in my office right now and it's 90 degrees.
That is fantastic. That almost seems like you should like do what I do when I go in the sauna and give them a little bit of eucalyptus on the hot coals for aromatherapy
Right.
when I go in there.
I'll probably go lose 10 pounds today.
Kyle, what is your problem with
nothing about that created a good visual for me.
Well, I didn't ask you to create a visual. What you should have thought was your olfactory senses kicking in when I mentioned eucalyptus on hot sauna coals.
I was still stuck on how frequently you change your socks. Is that a daily thing for you, or like more than like twice a day? Like, is it a frequent thing? I mean,
you know, I find it interesting that you tied that whole thing to how frequently I change my socks and not how frequently Michael produces video content.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It seems like he would probably produce a good amount of video content. Are you changing your socks like 2-3 times a day? I mean, that's crazy.
It just depends, actually. Well, I mean, listen, I've already been accused once on this for not wearing socks with cowboy boots. So, I mean, that's not lost on me either. That's not lost on me either. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you came from, and how you got into insurance.
Yeah, so I'm in Gilbert, Arizona, like every other insurance agent in the country. Safe Street Insurance is the name of my agency. I first got into insurance working for Allstate agents. I hated that. I hated the captive world. So very soon I realized, okay, this is not the thing to do. So I broke off and started an independent agency. At this point, I'm personal lines. I'm like 99% personal lines. I'm slowly starting to get into some commercial lines in some niche categories. One of those being tree nurseries, plant nurseries. We may talk about this later, but I'm big in the plant world. So I'm slowly moving into commercial, but right now it's just personal lines agency. And I have myself, an office manager / CSR, and a full-time sales agent.
Cool deal. Yeah, no, I think that niche is good for you, man, based on what I've seen you post. And, how much nursery business is out in Arizona? You know what?
More than you would think, actually. We are in a desert, but things actually
bunch of cacti.
Hey, that's actually big in the nursery.
I bet.
Cacti take forever to grow.
Huh.
And so if you can sell a mature one, they go for a lot of money.
Really?
In fact, you're not allowed to cut down saguaro cactuses here. Even if it's on your property, you have to get a permit to be able to cut it out and move it, or just cut it down completely.
Huh.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's similar with palm trees down here, man. Like I've got a sago palm in front of my house that has to be, man, if that thing's not 30 years old, I would be shocked, and it's worth a fortune.
Yeah.
Because for that thing to get as big as it is, And I've really had to work with that because it had gotten some scale on it when we first moved in and had to completely cut all of the fronds off. And I didn't know if it was going to come back or not. And sure enough, it did. And it came back twice as thick as it was. So
there you go. There you go.
You know, I'm never going to let my oldest son know that thing's worth any money, or I'll come home one day and there's going to be this gaping hole in my landscape.
Right.
And
You just pond your palm tree.
He'll pull up in a red Civic with a fat tailpipe looking to apply to deliver pizzas for a job.
Smart kid.
Good grief. Well, that's interesting. You know, you probably don't know this about me, but I actually owned a landscape company back in my mid-20s, and we did a lot of we probably did as much installation as we did maintenance.
Okay.
And that was in Birmingham. So completely different growing zone, but some really, really cool stuff that we can't grow down here. Like I love the lace leaf Japanese maple trees. Can't grow them in Florida.
That's weird because I thought you could grow everything in Florida. I wish I lived in a Florida climate.
What's the soil like there?
Hard and rocky.
Really?
and salty, and the pH is high.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have to it's easy to dig down here, but you have to amend the soil a ton to get stuff to grow because it's so sandy.
Yeah, we amend like crazy, and a lot of times what you have to do is get a jackhammer. Like I actually just did this 3 weeks ago. I wanted to plant some plants. I had to get a jackhammer and jack down in to create a little chimney or a hole to get past that first layer of like hard, they call it caliche. It's basically like a cement, and you have to jackhammer past that. Otherwise, your plants are never going to grow.
Listen, people, if you are not jackhammering to plant things, then you are just not working hard enough.
Exactly.
Or you don't want it bad enough.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny because it's the same way I went down, blindly volunteered to install a brand new landscape at my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's house when they lived in Pembroke Pines. And I was completely oblivious to the amount of coral that was in the ground there.
Yeah.
And instantly regretted that. Instantly. Like I was swinging a bona fide pick. We had no jackhammer or a gas powered auger. I had to use a pick to break through all of that stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's not cool. Well, so you don't have good ground there, but you have a good climate.
Yeah, good climate. I mean, you can grow pretty much any kind of fruit tree here, I think, you know, of the stuff you would expect to be able to grow here.
Yeah.
And, you know, just different stuff when it comes to annuals and perennials than what we could have up in Birmingham. And, you know, it's heavily palm tree and in tropical stuff, which is fine, but I miss the other two.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's why I live in the desert where I shouldn't be growing tropical stuff, but I do because I like the change. I don't want the cactus in my front yard, you know, or the Palo Verde tree in my front yard. So that's why I grow mangoes and bananas and all that stuff that you can grow in Florida easily.
We had a massive mango tree in our last yard. Like the thing was easily 45 feet tall. Here's what I find funny. So here in Arizona, and I know in Florida too, we have citrus, and people don't even eat the citrus. They just grow here, and people don't even eat them. Do people in Florida, like, you have mango trees in your front yard, but I hear a lot of people don't even eat them. They just let them fall to the ground. Yeah. So, and the sheer amount, like when they would start falling, it was crazy. It was in our backyard, and it was between the house, and we had a detached garage. And so like sometimes they would fall in the middle of the night, and it hung over the house. Like I'm telling you, this thing was massive. And so I'd be sleeping and I'd just hear this massive boom, and I'd wake up and be like, what the hell was that? And then realize that it was most likely just a mango falling. But no, I mean, there would be so many of them. Like I could go out there and pick up 20 at a time. And so I would either just give them to people or they would end up rotting. Like, I mean, there was no way. Plus my wife is very strange. She's not allergic to mangoes, but the sap that is on the outside of them when they come off.
There's a lot of people who have that.
Dude, she like welted up and looked like Hitch, and I was like,
yeah,
dude, what is going on? So that we went to the urgent care, and we ended up narrowing it down to that. But yeah, we did not eat them very often, which is
That's crazy. Yeah, because here in Arizona, the few people that do grow mango trees, like we count them. Like if we get 10, we're gonna savor every last bit of those 10.
Oh mangoes. Yeah, no, man, it's so the opposite down here. But what I need to know what's going on with that hellified sap, man, because that stuff like I've known several people who have had that exact same thing happen from mango sap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's crazy too, because some of this stuff, it looks completely different when you grow it yourself than what you would expect it to look.
Mm-hmm.
Like my father-in-law has a lemon tree in his yard. I swear that the lemons are the size of a regulation football. Like and he's like not injecting it with a bunch of fertilizer or anything like that. But I mean, we pulled in the first time. Okay, yeah, hyperbole football, but realistically, these lemons are the size of an average mango. It's crazy.
Wow.
Never seen a lemon that looks like that in my life. And by the way, another fun fact about the old father-in-law's yard, since we're going to be visiting him this weekend, got a few coconut trees.
Oh, nice.
And they're tall. And when they fall, it's not nearly as pleasant as a mango. And I was down on the dock not that long ago fishing with Ethan a couple months back. And I mean, there was one that dropped within 3 feet of me.
Wow.
And if it would have hit my head, I would have been done, man.
Yeah. There's deaths in like tropical places where people die. Like a large number of people die every year by coconut falling on your head.
Death by coconut.
That's almost like the gods must be crazy or whatever. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah. Yep.
Kyle, it's way before your time, man. You weren't even a twinkle in your father's eye at that point when that came out. So, Michael, tell us about your agency. What have you done to grow? I mean, I know we'll talk about your use of video, and I want you to talk about your new YouTube channel too, because, well, we laid the ground for that pretty good for the last 10 minutes. Yep. But I'm interested in your agency and how you got into using video. You are the culprit who is responsible for me having that DJI that I carry around everywhere that I go now. And actually, you know, I talk about that thing a lot, but I've started using it for loss control videos. So when we go out and do like a loss control, or I go out and do a loss control visit to a property, obviously not right now, but right before COVID started, I would take that thing and I would videotape all of the things that I was seeing with my commentary while I went. And then I would present the loss control findings like a quote vid.
That's cool. That's cool. I love that camera. It's so easy to use. You can pull it out and be filming within like 5 seconds.
It's nuts. It's like literally the exact size of the palm of my hand. It lays right in the palm of my hand.
Yep.
And the quality that you have. And what I found out about that thing is that they have drones too. I didn't know that they were like the big drone people. So yeah, I've already started clicking on that. That is exactly what I need. I was
just say we need a drone real bad.
I am. Very soon I'm getting a drone actually. And I'm trying to decide between the DJI and there's also another one, a competitor that's coming out that I'm looking at as well.
Who's the competitor for that?
It's called the Skydio 2. And here's why I'm thinking of that one a little bit more is because it has better control qualities to it, to where if you're a complete noob and you've never flown a drone, you can try and fly it like directly into a wall or into a tree and it won't allow you to do that.
That is exactly the drone that I need.
Right, exactly.
That'll be a good move.
I have a hard enough time with a remote control car, man. Like sometimes those things are backwards the way that you turn it. And but that, I mean, so what would you use the drone for?
Just cooler footage, you know, however I can incorporate it into my video, filming good shots of home when I'm talking about home insurance, or cars fly over the freeway when I'm talking about car insurance, just cool shots to incorporate into my videos.
You know what? I'm going to brainstorm live right now with you because I think it would be absolutely awesome and freaky at the same time. This just popped into my head with all of the stuff that's going on with geofencing and all of that right now. If you did drone footage of somebody's actual street and then did targeted ads to that street with the drone footage in it.
Yes. That's a great idea.
There you go, man. That's the one you get for coming on the show today.
Beautiful.
No, I think it would be cool, man, because I've watched the stuff that that Nick Ayers has done, and I know that you were doing something similar.
Yeah.
Where Kyle, and you may or may not have seen this, but Nick did a deal with a drone where he flew over a neighborhood, and as he was flying over, little pop-ups were popping up with how much money he had allegedly saved each of these people on their home insurance. And it was
pretty
just
cool.
Like boom, boom, boom.
It's a good
boom,
idea.
Boom.
Yeah.
It was a cool looking ad that he did. I thought it was neat. You know, from a drone perspective, there's a lot of things that insurance people can do using drones from a production standpoint, even to differentiate themselves. But one of the coolest uses that I've seen is one of my clients. I had a company that I worked with when I was at another agency that was a manufacturing facility they did thermoforming and extruding of plastics, and they made like a huge market share of the plastic clamshell containers that produce go in. So if you buy strawberries, blueberries, all of that, there was a high likelihood that my client made that plastic clamshell. So they were looking for the guy that runs that company is absolutely phenomenal, like just down to earth as you can imagine. It's $100 million company, down to earth. Still wore boots and jeans. Like he grew up in the fields, doing strawberries and everything and citrus. And so the reason the company grew is because he could relate very, very well to the farmers, and he would go out, he would sell the deals to these people. Mm-hmm. But they got to the point where they were looking for ways to differentiate themselves from some of the larger companies who do what they do. And he came up with this idea that they got a drone with $100,000 camera on it.
Wow.
And they would take that thing and fly it over the crops of anybody who was their customer. And they would identify areas of the crops that were having issues with insects or irrigation or whatever else. And then they would come back and provide that information to the farmer. And it saved the farmer a ton of money. And my client didn't charge them a dime to do that. It was just part of buying your clamshell containers from them. So that's a pretty solid idea. Absolutely. In my book.
Yeah, that's great. I'll tell you one thing, though. I wouldn't want to be the one flying that drone with that camera attached to it.
No, and what's even funnier is the whole thing came up in a matter-of-fact conversation at lunch. Like, it was never even reported. Like, nobody picked up the phone and said, "Hey, David, we have a $100,000 camera on a drone that we're." I happened to catch them because they were bragging about it. Like a lot of things that happen, like the client that calls you on Monday morning and says, "What would happen if I used my dump truck in a parade over the weekend?" Oh, right. This coming weekend? No, last weekend. Well, I don't know what would happen. Why are you calling me?
Exactly.
But that's cool, man. Yeah, I think the drone thing, there's certainly some opportunity there. But I'm interested. So what have you done to grow your agency to this point? How long have you been in business? Mm-hmm. and all that?
So I've been in insurance for about 13 years. When I broke off to go independent, I had a partner. He was more of a silent partner, but he was still controlling to a point where I couldn't go off and do what I wanted to do. So I, free and clear on my own, have been about 4 or 5 years. And I've just been working referrals. That's been that's how I've grown. I haven't bought leads. I haven't generated leads up until 8 months ago. It's just been all referrals. And so I got to a point where I couldn't grow at the scale I wanted to grow with just referrals. So that's where video came in. And I don't know how much you want me to go into video right now.
No, I'm interested in talk a little bit about your referral stuff. Where are you getting referrals from? How do you build that relationship? What works for you? Because you talk. That's what a lot of people say, right? Everybody go, I go after mortgage brokers. I go after realtors. Well, I'm interested in what your approach is to that and how it works for you compared to what I've heard from other people.
Yeah, so I would say the referrals, the majority of it was not realtors and mortgage brokers. I've tried that. My main source of referrals and what I prefer are my existing clients. I find when they come from my existing clients, they're already sold on me. And all I have to do is provide them a decent quote and show them that I know what I'm talking about, and they're going to be my clients. And those clients are the ones that are going to stick around and have the high retention. And I feel like I'm very personable when it comes to my clients. I take the time to talk to them, and I've always made a point to do that because that's where all my referrals come from. So I just give the best possible service I can by responding quickly and genuinely caring about my clients. And I feel like they can feel that and understand that, and they send me their referrals. And so that's where I've put all my, that's where I was putting all my eggs into that one basket. Sure, I had a few mortgage referrals. I honestly, that business, it's hit or miss. It comes in, you get the home. They don't really have a relationship with you. They have a relationship with the mortgage broker. The mortgage broker maybe push them into getting the home quote and the home policy with me. But the client may have a relationship already with their auto insurance with another agent. And as soon as that home comes up for renewal, that agent that they already have the relationship with, they pull the home. So that, like I said, that's just hit or miss. I find the best retention-wise clients or referrals are coming from my existing book of business.
Makes sense.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, you have instant credibility if one of your clients is referring you somebody in. I mean, it's like you said, it's almost a done deal at that point.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, we do, very similar. Like, I don't really have to cold call. I don't go cold call that much anymore because of the fact that I've got channel partners that I've built up in different different service provider roles. And then also, what my existing clients, send to me. And, one of the things that I do and have always done when I bring a new account on, or even periodically with my existing clients, is I follow up with them several times throughout the year, is I ask them, who's bringing you, who's providing your payroll services for you, who's selling you your credit card processing, where do you buy your business supplies, all of those things, because those are the people that I like to recruit. But they're also the people that I want to be sending business to me as well. Because if you've got a payroll person that's in an account that I'm on, then there's a likelihood they're in other accounts that fit the exact same demographic that I'm not on. Absolutely. And I need to be. And so,
and the volume that they're in too. I mean, they're in tons and tons of accounts every single week.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the whole thing. Those people, a lot of the time for us, it works well, because if you're a payroll person, most of the time they're selling against a PEO, or they're trying to help somebody get workers' comp, and we get the call because they can't do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that opens the door for us to be able to go in and get the deal done for us. And it also gets the deal done for them, because they can't get it without the workers' comp. So, we're killing two birds with one stone. But you knock a couple of those out, and then all of a sudden, the payroll people are telling their friends that they work with, and you got 3 or 4 of them. And the next thing you know, you're sitting here with just constant flow.
Right.
Like, I really could just come to the office every day and not do anything at all for organic at this point, which is nuts. I do stuff for organic. I just don't go out and beat the streets like I used to. The majority of what I'm doing now is digital stuff, but it's crazy, man. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Word of mouth is 100% the best, the best referral out there.
So I like the way that you do video. I'm interested because I haven't really seen, obviously, if I saw paid ads for your videos, then that's a problem if I'm seeing them in Tampa, Florida, right?
Yep.
So how much stuff are you doing paid versus what you're doing that's strictly content?
I'm not doing much paid at currently at all. All I'm doing paid right now is a billboard ad or evergreen ad that I run on YouTube to about a 25-mile range of my office, and also same thing on Facebook. That's all the paid advertising I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to do it, man. I'll be honest with you. I mean, the way that I have learned, it's been pretty cool working with Ryan Hanley, because he's in Killing Commercial, and I'm helping him learn middle market and how to go about that stuff. But, Hanley knows a lot about content, and how to generate it. And, it's not necessarily that I didn't know about it, but I'm more I'm not getting enough out. That means I need to work harder. I need to spend more hours doing it. And he's really showed me a way to not have to do that. So I didn't even know about things like the website Rev.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know about Rev?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, so that's where my strategy's been, is we've shut down with COVID. My whole thing is, I know with that pocket camera, if I've got an idea, boom, I can get it on video immediately. And I really, my strategy started out with do as much video as I can, so that I at least have a reminder and I could go back and write blog posts around it later.
Absolutely.
Now I can just upload all of that stuff to Rev. They transcribe it and they shoot it back to me. And I go in, pop it into Hemingway to make sure that they're happy with the shortness of my sentences, and then Grammarly to make sure that Grammarly's right. And then they tell me my sentences are too short, which was awesome. But, put that stuff in there, slap some headings on it, and make sure that it flows the way I want it to as written versus me saying it. And you've got instant blog posts, man. So I literally uploaded 50 videos to Rev on Monday or Tuesday of this week. And within an hour, I had 50 transcriptions back for my blog posts for Florida Red.
Yeah, they're so fast, and they're good too. It's accurate.
Yeah, I paid the $1.25 for the human, so I wasn't using the artificial intelligence.
Yep.
But I learned that's been a big deal for me. The other one that I've been using is I've used Scribe. So I was using Splashio to do all of the transcriptions and stuff in my videos, and I found out, and it's great because you just record the video, you create your template, you upload, put the Dropbox link in there and any special instructions, send it to them, and then a day later it comes back. But if I'm not running ahead on having stuff filmed, that screws up my cadence for sharing it on social. So now with Scribe, I can make that video, edit it, be done with it, put it into Scribe, and then I edit all my own transcriptions. And I have it done the same day, you know? And so we've gone from, you know, my website's substandard right now for content. If you went there, I think I've got like 4 or 5 blog posts on there, and that's all I've ever had for the last couple of years. And so when we slowed everything down, that became my main focus, is getting content on there for SEO purposes and otherwise. But yeah, I mean, so all of that's a long way to discuss the fact I don't think you have to use a bunch of paid ads.
You don't.
My career proves that. One of the biggest accounts I ever wrote was off of a blog post that some guy in Atlanta found because he Googled the workers' comp experience modifier, and it was a $400,000 or $500,000 account. Wow. And I went up and we closed it on the first meeting.
Wow.
I got a voicemail, and this is probably the second time I've said this on podcast, but I got a voicemail from this guy because by the way, if you're listening to this and you don't do content, you probably should, because this is a good reason why. This guy calls me, leaves me a voicemail and said, "Hey, David, I read your blog on the workers' comp experience modifier. I know you know what you're talking about. I want to hire you. I just need to know how much you cost and how quick you can get to Atlanta."
Wow.
That was the voice message.
That's the greatest phone call ever.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. But I mean, and then I've seen it happen over time. And what I don't think people realize is when they're out screwing off, drinking beer or playing golf at 2:00 on a Friday afternoon, and the CFO of a company just got their preliminary mod, and they're freaking, and they can't get this person to answer their phone, so they go to Google to see something, and guess what shows up?
Yep.
I'm waiting with open arms.
Yep, exactly. And that's the thing with video, it establishes you as the authority. Honestly, even if you don't know what you're talking about, just because you have that video and that content online where people can find it, you instantly become the authority, and people trust you right away.
People are obsessed with video right now.
Yep. Yeah. So
yeah. Well, I mean, Chris Green was saying that yesterday when we talked to him, right? He had a deal where somebody was arguing, like another agent was saying Chris didn't know what he was talking about with flood.
Yep.
And the lady said, "This guy's got like several hundred videos on flood out. I'm going to go with that guy." You know?
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't, you're the instant authority. And then also back to your point, David, it doesn't have to be difficult. People don't like your video or your information because you have the best lighting in your video, or because you speak the best, or because you're dressed the best. It doesn't have to be difficult. It can be quick. It can be simple, and you can get it up on your website and on YouTube and spread that all over Google. And suddenly you're getting tons of organic leads coming in from doing very little.
When you started, because you committed probably like 18 months ago, or was it?
No, not even that long ago. It was
really
September or October of last year.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So did you benchmark what your website traffic looked like then, and then compare it to where you're at now, and to see what stuff's driving it?
Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot if you didn't.
No, I
make up a number. You just said you don't have to know what you're talking about, so just make a number.
Right. Exactly. No, it's jumped I think it jumped like 2,000%.
Wow.
When I last checked.
Round number, 2,000%.
Exactly.
That's crazy, man. And I mean, it's all coming from your video. So when you do a content video, and I've watched your stuff because I think you do a good job with it, and I agree with you wholeheartedly that it doesn't have to be the production quality. Nick is a genius from that perspective. When Nick first came out and said, "Look, selfie style video with your cell phone, disrupt what they're watching." Or, you know, you look normal, or you look like in my case, I look like I might do something stupid if I'm filming myself on a cell phone. So people are going to watch it. But I think that's true. If I really took the time to get that thing polished, and it's so funny, I shouldn't say this, but I will. It was hilarious I don't watch Chris's videos, but they show up in my news feed because I'm connected to him. And it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I shot Nick a message and I said, hey, just out of curiosity, man, did Chris Green get some new software? Because it looks like a freaking carnival on his videos now. He had all these transitions and blinking lights and logos, and they came out of nowhere. And I'm like, dude, why are you doing all of that? It takes time. And in my opinion, it takes away from the video. Why are you driving all over the country to get unique backdrops only to, in my opinion, vandalize it with all of that garbage that was on there?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Oh, and I love Chris to death. I hope he hears that, Chris. That's my criticism to you. I mean, not that you need to listen to me. You've only, established yourself as the premier flood guy in the entire country, but that doesn't mean you know how to make videos.
Well, Chris he'll be upset with me if he listens to this because he's taught me a lot about about video as well. So I can't say anything bad about Chris.
No, you know what? In all seriousness, I think everybody can take a page out of that guy's book, man. Yep. There is nobody I really respect Chris for just saying, you know what, I'm going to make 1,000 pieces of content and whatever. What did he tell us? Yeah, a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Come on, man. I mean, what are you talking about random MMA stats halfway through? I mean, how do you even have that much content? It's flood for crying out loud.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
But he's killed it. I mean, this guy has taken and built a brand. And, he always gives the credit back to They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, and Always in Content Warfare by Ryan Hanley. He says those 2 books and those 2 people are what got him determined to do it. And he just took it and ran with it, man. I mean, he's a great example for anybody who just, again, it goes back to what I say when people ask me all the time, how do I sell commercial insurance? How do I get into the middle market? Well, you just make up your mind that's what you're going to do, and you go do it. Yep. I mean, there's no real secret science to doing it. Now, there's processes involved that can make you better at it, but as far as that goes, it's just a mindset, and that guy he made up his mind and he ran with it.
Yep. I told some people after IAOA this last year, we go into these classes and we're like, okay, they're going to give us a secret sauce. And then after I get done with it, I'm like, dude, they didn't tell us anything secret that we don't know. All they told us is you just got to do it. Everyone knows what they need to do. It's just a matter of executing and doing it. That's all it is.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, listen, we talk about it all the time. The reason I got into the insurance industry is because I met with a guy that was a very, very successful agency principal. And he told me, David, if you want to be successful in any industry, you should come to insurance because it's full of average people. He said they're C players. They do what they need to do to be average, and that's it. So if you consider yourself to be above average, and he said, I can tell you from having conversation with you at lunch, you're above average. So you should come to work with me immediately. Yeah. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I mean, literally, I flew from Birmingham, Alabama to Tampa, Florida to have lunch with this guy. I flew back and I told my wife, I'm out. I'm going to pack up. I'm going to pack up the F-150 and I'm gone. Like literally within a week I was gone and had come down to Tampa, and I started my insurance schooling to get my license. And back then you actually had to we didn't have online options. So I would work from 8 to 5, or I would go from 8 to 5. And I drove like an hour and 15 minutes each way to get there because I was living all the way out past where I live now. And the school was in Clearwater.
Wow.
And I'd get up every day and do that. And then when I was done in the afternoon, I would drive back, and it was light out till 8:30 at night. And I was working plumbing, tiling, and forming swimming pools to get some pocket change while I was getting my insurance license. So I was doing this and making friends because this is back before the whole housing market crashed. So I was making friends with all the other subcontractors that were on these jobs and everything else. So I get my license, and the next thing you know, I'm just going right back to the subdivisions where I was working, putting pools in. And I'm like, dude, I need to write your insurance, man. You're getting hosed. I had no idea what I was talking about, but I made all of these friends and was able to write a chunk of business right out of the box as a result. Which is why when my kids ask me, Dad, what do you do for a living? Well, I get paid to make friends. That's what I do.
Yep.
And if you can go into it with that mindset, you'll kill it every time.
100%. Yep.
Like, I don't work with anybody that I hate. You know what I mean? I don't have that one client that when the phone rings, I cringe. Now Kyle's got a few, but I don't. Kyle's got a few that when they call, I cringe. You know, so. But I mean, I don't have that person in my book of business. And I mean, I think that's one of the cool things. And again, to your point earlier, man, I mean, there's not a worse feeling in the world than being entrepreneurial or feeling like you can make a difference, or you want to do the things the way you want to do them, and you're beholden to somebody else who's keeping you back from doing that.
Yep.
That's the worst feeling in the world. And if you're not entrepreneurial in nature, and you're not one of these people who is basically not afraid to take risk, you'll try anything, but you know you have to cut bait and course correct quickly. People that are conservative in nature don't understand that. They just, it doesn't even resonate with them.
Yep.
So here I am today because of that, you know?
Awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're doing the video stuff with the insurance right now. That's working out well. 2,000% in website page views.
Give or take a little.
Yeah. Plus or minus. But now you're branching out, right? Pun intended. You're branching out.
Yes. Yes. And I'm using video to branch out. So as I mentioned, I'm personal lines. I want to branch out into commercial, but I want to do it strategically and focus on a niche. I always hear everybody talk about, hey, you need to find a niche and it needs to be something you like to do. So I've been racking my brain, and then suddenly I was like, well, duh, I love gardening. I love fruit trees. My backyard is an oasis with fruit trees all over the place. So it makes perfect sense for my first niche in the commercial world to be landscapers, and also tree nurseries, tree farms, everything to that nature. So how I'm using video to do that is I started a new YouTube channel called The Garden Nerd, and I am making content around that type of stuff. Trees, growing trees in your backyard, the best trees for our climate, the best bushes, things to that nature, to try and eventually go after that type of niche business in the commercial world.
I think it would be awesome if you were on a loss control visit walking through a nursery and you look at a guy and like, dude, what kind of operation are you running? You got to trim your hibiscus.
You know, what's funny is it's a struggle I have because I grow a lot of stuff that doesn't or shouldn't grow in Arizona. And I have landscapers. I have a few friends that come over to my house and they have no idea how to handle my stuff. I don't even let landscapers in my backyard because they're just going to ruin my stuff because they have no idea how to handle it. So I have to be kind in my videos, and I can't offend landscapers because those are the very people I'm going to be going after.
I just picture you out in your backyard with a little squirt bottle and some gloves on, just talking to the plants, squirting it, maybe playing a little Mozart.
Right. Yeah. That wouldn't surprise my wife. My wife makes fun of me. She says I'm like an 80-year-old man out there with my trees and my plants.
Hey man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, what's up with the random Mozart reference?
I don't know. Just the first music. Don't people play like Mozart to their plants to make them grow or something? I don't know.
They probably do. That just made me think you're that much more intelligent because you mentioned Mozart.
Exactly. Get out of here, Dave. Go change your socks, dude.
Yeah, no kidding. But so I mean, I think that's a good angle, man. And those are definitely good. I mean, that's a good niche, and you can build on that niche from there.
Yeah.
Like, you don't.
Yeah, I don't know anything about commercial. I probably need to talk to you actually. So I figure, okay, well, I at least know the business side when it comes to the tree nurseries and the landscapers. So now I just have to learn the actual insurance side, and from there it should fit hand in hand, and I can learn it very quickly, and I can quickly become the expert in Arizona when it comes to that type of insurance.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what kind of competition you have on that stuff. I don't know. Do you know Mike McDonough? Have you ever met him?
No, I haven't.
The workers' comp renegade?
No.
Okay. Well, Mike actually he would be a good guy for you to talk to when you get cranked up in this, because Mike's got a program, like a self-insured program, and he's endorsed by some sort of flower growers association in the San Diego area or whatever. But I mean, he's got like a ton of nurseries and growers.
That's good to know.
He would
I've done a little bit of research, and there's maybe one or two agencies that are hitting it pretty hard in Arizona, but there doesn't seem to be that much competition. And there's definitely no one using video as their marketing strategy.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's you're passionate about video. You're passionate about plants. I mean,
Yep.
What else?
Yeah.
That would be, we need to figure out a way that Michael can creatively use time-elapsed photography videos in his marketing approach.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
showing things blooming. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. Like those old school science videos.
Yes.
To watch. It was so cool.
Even like bamboo grows so fast. I could get a really cool video of bamboo, like how much it grows in 1 week. That would be cool.
It is insane. I mean, I have heard, what's the stat? I don't even want to tell you what I've heard because I don't want to sound ignorant. Like I've heard it grows like something ridiculous. Like it can grow up to 2 feet a day or something like that.
In the right conditions, it absolutely can. Yep.
Right. I heard something insane, like 90 feet in 2 weeks. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Some varieties, yes, that is accurate. And it has to be in the right climate. So in my climate, it's not ideal. So it's not going to grow that fast. Somewhere like Florida, oh yeah. Or somewhere in the Caribbean, definitely.
Yeah, my father-in-law, the gentleman with the massive lemons and falling coconuts, also happens to have some bamboo that he just randomly threw in his backyard. And like it's going nuts. But the other thing is that stuff gets massive, like in terms of the diameter of it too.
It does. Not so much in Arizona. In fact, so Jeremy Huerta?
Yeah.
I took him out yesterday. I showed him my tree nursery guy who sells all the tropical stuff. He bought 2 things of bamboo. So don't tell him that, you'll scare him. But in Arizona, it's not, the climate again isn't ideal enough to get that big and to grow that fast. So it's easily controllable. But you're right, in Florida and other ideal climates.
It's got to be humid, right?
Yes, humid and lots of moisture.
Yeah.
And not so much cold.
Right.
So that's one thing people don't understand about Arizona. Tropicals can grow in Arizona, and it's not the heat they don't like, it's the cold they don't like. Believe it or not, we do get cold in the winter. Obviously not super cold, we don't get snow, but it gets cold enough to where the tropicals don't like it.
How cold does it get?
Maybe 10 days out of the year we'll get below freezing. But the low can be anywhere from freezing to 40 degrees.
That's pretty similar to us, really. Maybe we won't be below freezing that many days.
Yeah.
It depends. Some years we are. It's an interesting phenomenon because when that happens, especially when it happens in like December, January timeframe, if you go 3 or 4 days at freezing or below, your issue is not that you're going to lose the plant material. It's that the farmers, because you're right at the prime of strawberry season, right?
Oh yeah.
So the farmers are running the irrigation 24/7 to coat the strawberries to save them, and it ends up depleting the water table. And so we have massive issues with sinkholes just coming out of nowhere because you've got a void in the ground where the water table was, and like it's crazy. One of my clients was a big furniture company chain here in Tampa or in Florida rather. And they were involved when between Tampa and Orlando, from where I live, it's about 45, 50 minutes to get to the front gates of Disney World. And Interstate 4 is what connects the two. Well, I woke up one morning and I went to get my coffee and I flipped on the news and I saw one of my clients' trucks laying sideways in a big pileup on the interstate. And like this massive sinkhole came out of nowhere.
Wow.
Nowhere. And like there were like 40 or 50 cars involved in this. And it was so bad, they had to completely shut down I-4. And you'd had to go like almost an hour north and then go all the way through the back way to get to Orlando.
When was this? I feel like
that was back in, I was working in Tampa at the time. So that would have been like 06, 07 maybe.
So do they have like sinkhole endorsements, or is that something do you have to add it on to your, because I have no idea. We don't have those in Arizona. Is that something that's automatically included in your insurance, or is it like an endorsement type product?
So what happens is it's mandatory that every policy has a catastrophic ground collapse endorsement on it, which means that your house has to be completely rendered uninhabitable for that to kick in.
Okay.
You can buy sinkhole coverage, but good luck because they inspect every single house to see. And I mean, it's crazy. If you've got so much as a crack in the driveway or the sidewalk in front of your house, you're out. Wow. They're not going to give it to you. And it's a big problem. Like where I'm at, it's not where we're at in Tampa. It's not as bad, but like where Kyle is when you get into Pasco County, which Kyle lives across the street from our other office, you know, you get up into Pasco, like that's the sinkhole. I mean, that's the sinkhole capital of the world.
Newport Richey, right down the street. I mean, yeah, there's sinkholes. I mean, there was a while there where it was like every night you turn on the news and somebody's house got swallowed by a sinkhole. Crazy.
Or like that one, there was one in Land O'Lakes like last year or the year before. Yeah. Like these people are watching basically on a day-by-day basis as this thing's creeping closer and closer to their house. So like it devoured 2 homes,
right? And
just kept spreading and spreading and spreading. And they're bringing all of these engineers out to try and, like, I don't know, man. It's got to be a pretty helpless feeling. Like, how do you?
It's crazy.
How do you stop the ground from collapsing in real time?
That's nuts.
And there's a lot of, there's a lot of stuff that happens too, where people, there's a lot of services for pinning, they pin your house and then they fill it with some sort of concrete mix or whatever that stuff is that they put in there. But they pump like truckloads of this stuff to fill the void under homes if they've had some level of settling or some sort of sinkhole activity. But
wow,
once that happens, you're done, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Like I can tell you right now, I don't have sinkhole. I wouldn't qualify for it because, there have been some in the general proximity of where our home is. But if we ever have anything remotely close to that, all 4 of my kids are going to be on the business end of a shovel, making sure that house is uninhabitable because there is no way, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy that you can't get coverage. So you just hope you have good luck.
Yeah, I think that you can get it if you go through Citizens, which is the state fund, the state insurance company. Because I had a lady that called that I spoke with last week about homeowners insurance, and that was her deal. She wanted to know, she was with Citizens and had sinkhole, and I couldn't get her sinkhole because she wasn't going to pass the inspection. I could tell from the Zillow picture she wasn't going to pass the inspection, and so she stuck with Citizens for $600 more a year.
Just to get that covered.
Which it's funny for me to even hear that come out of my mouth, man, because I don't ever deal with. I've dealt with more homeowners in auto in the last month than I have in my entire insurance career because I'm answering the phone. I'm the only one in the office. I answer the phone. Okay. I'm using Quote Rush to do all of the rating and all of that, and so we've talked about it. Like it's a whole. I actually have enjoyed doing personal lines because it's a complete challenge to me. It's a whole different angle of selling.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing that I do in commercial translates at all.
And that's the
biggest, that's the biggest thing that I've always complained about is, and why I didn't personally want to be involved or have personal lines in the agency is because I can't reconcile in my head why I'm talking to an account that pays $50,000 a year in agency commissions. And my very next phone call is Mrs. Jones griping that her homeowners went up $25 a year.
Yep.
I'm not wired that way. And so, but it's been fun. I look at it as a challenge, my close ratio, not nearly as high on personal lines. Like I really have been trying to figure out ways that I can sharpen my skill set a little bit because I'm competitive, man. It doesn't matter what it is,
Right.
If there's, I want to win, period. So for me to get told, I think I'm going to stay where I'm at. I realize, that it's $25 cheaper and you increased me from $25.50 to $100, $300, $100, but it's not a big enough, reason for me to switch where I'm at. I've really enjoyed working with this other person. Why did you call to begin with?
Exactly. And to your point, you just spent a lot of time on that, not to get the sell,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny because what do you use for a rater? Like, how do you rate your homeowners and your auto?
Easy links.
You for both?
For home and auto, yeah.
And how many carriers do you run through Easy Links for like auto, for example? We have 2 separate ones. We use Quote Rush for home and we use Easy Links for auto.
Why do you use 2?
Because
I never heard of that.
Well, because every ounce of research that I had done told me that Easy Links was not nearly as accurate as it needed to be in Florida, and some of our carriers weren't integrated with them.
Okay.
And Quote Rush was was much more accurate, and Quote Rush has the virtual bot. So I can literally key the basic information in and set that thing free, and it goes out and scrapes all the data off the internet and pre-populates it.
Got it.
And then, and it's not completely hands-free. You still have to go in and like approve certain sections and all of that. But I can get it started and have it going on my one monitor and still work on my other two.
Yeah.
And then just occasionally glance over and check off that everything's cool. And then, we had Easy Links for the auto, but QuoteRush is starting to add auto carriers now. So I probably won't have two of them. Easy Links has been relatively, it's been relatively accurate. I mean, again, it's a learning curve because it's not like what I'm used to doing, and it's garbage in, garbage out. So the more thorough you can be with putting it in, the less cleanup work you're going to have to do.
Right. I honestly don't like Easy Links. I've just been with them from the beginning. But no, to your question, I run about 7 or 8 carriers through Easy Links.
And the other thing we don't have that you have, we can't package here.
You can't package.
No, we don't have the only package markets that we have, or the only package market that we have is Progressive with ASI. That's it.
Why is that? That's strange.
Some of the nationals are starting to stick their toe back in the water because they all got their plow cleaned with hurricanes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's what's interesting is we haven't had really bad storm damage. I mean, there was some up in Panama City, and then the Keys got hit, but nothing like it was in the early 2000s. We've had one really bad one every other year that hits one place. In 2002 or 2003, whenever it was, like half of Florida got leveled. Like it was insane.
Well, there's a bunch that were like back to back. Was that like Charlie and
Francis?
Yeah, there was like for a month where they just kind of ripped through here and just leveled everything.
And the eye of all 4 of those hurricanes went directly over my house, where I live now. I didn't live here then. I lived in Birmingham. My mom and dad were down here, but I mean, where I live, the eye of those passed directly over our house. I mean, it's crazy. But so what happened is everybody pulled out of the marketplace and they got forced going into Citizens. Well, Citizens is not supposed to be a competitive market. Citizens is supposed to be where you go if you can't get coverage anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so what happened is VC companies started figuring this out. So you'd have some venture-backed startup carriers come down and they would buy blocks out of Citizens as Citizens carve-outs. And that's where companies like Heritage and, Security First and a lot of the other ones came from. But the other thing is we really don't have AM Best A-rated carriers. Like the majority of what we have is Demotech rated, and that's it.
How are the premiums on those?
It's not terrible. And that's the other thing. The premiums are all over the board. You could quote with a company in one zip code and they'll be on fire. And then you go to the other one and you try and quote with them and you look at it, you're like, holy crap, this is insane, man. If the construction and everything is all relatively similar, it just blows my mind how the pricing is so hot and cold all over the place compared to what I'm used to on the commercial side. And then, the auto is the other thing. The other problem is it poses an issue for writing umbrella too, right? Because not everybody is going to be willing to write umbrella for us. So if we're going to package auto and umbrella, we have to do it with Safeco or Nationwide or Auto Owners. Those are the 3 we have where we can do auto and umbrella. And Nationwide is still trying to figure out their pricing. They haven't figured that out yet. It's a constant adjustment. So unfortunately, we don't get to put critical mass there. But with the other stuff, like Progressive is a very, very difficult appointment to get in Florida right now.
Really?
They put a moratorium on appointing agents because they appointed so many that they had to thin the herd. It took me about 2 years to get a Progressive appointment.
Wow.
And once we got it, we have to produce a certain amount of auto before they'll give us home and umbrella.
Wow. In Arizona, if you're alive and a person, you'll get an appointment with Progressive.
Well, that's the way that it used to be, man. That's why they're thinning the herd now.
Yeah.
I joke about it all the time. There were some monoline workers' comp carriers that I swear to God, you could have been a gas station owner, and if you had a computer that you could quote from in the back office, they'd probably appoint you. I mean, it was not difficult to get appointments back then. But it's interesting, and I enjoy it, but man, it's just so much to learn and retain in my head. Some days I leave with a headache.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much difference in policy forms from one carrier to the next too in the personal lines arena. Like, you got to know the big deal here. I don't know if it's the same out there or not, but the big deal here is water damage, right? Who's excluding it? Who's giving you 10,000? Who's not giving you a sub limit at all?
Yep.
You know, that's a major thing. You know, equipment breakdown's another one.
Yep.
Some will give it, some won't. So, you know, just having the sheer volume of carriers that you have to have, that's one of the reasons why, you know, I'm going to make a controversial statement here for the, you know, average agent that does personal lines, but that's why I like Swift, man. I mean, I can go in and with Swift, we just put in the address and we have the quote in like a minute.
Really? I don't know if Swift is in Arizona.
I don't know if they are or not. They got a bad rap because they've done some pulling out. I think Oklahoma and Illinois are a couple of them, and they're focusing more on coastal areas.
Yeah.
But man, it's insane. And they're A-rated. They're AM Best A-rated. So
yeah, I've heard a lot of negativity about them, but I don't think they're in Arizona.
I don't have anything negative to say about them until they pull out of here. Right now, they're relatively competitive, but I don't feel like a lot of what I heard is they were buying business in these other states and they came in artificially low. I don't feel like their premiums here are artificially low. I think they're competitive, but I don't think that based on what I see, they're not winning every single deal.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey,
So
I say ride it while you can, you know?
We will. I mean, if we need to move it, we move it when we have to.
Right.
If they decide they're going to play some games. Yep. But I mean, we're in a position right now where a lot of these carriers, these Demotech has hinted around that some people are losing their A ratings. So if I've got somebody AM Best A rated that I can hang on to, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I just ran one down in Sarasota this morning, and I put it through Quote Rush, and Swift came back at like $2,400 for the year on a $300,000 house in Sarasota, 5 miles from Sarasota Bay. And the next closest one was like $3,400.
Wow.
But I could do one in my own neighborhood, and Swift is going to be $400 higher, $400 or $500 higher.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
You know who I've been using is Openly. Have you heard of them?
I've heard of them, and I know a lot of people have been pretty pumped about them.
Yeah, they're so easy to quote. You enter in the address, they pull from 30 different data points, pre-fill everything. Within 10 seconds, you have a quote. They guarantee the dwelling coverage up to 5 million because they're the ones pulling the data, so they back it up. So they guarantee the dwelling up to 5 million, and the prices are just ridiculous.
I wonder if they're in Florida.
I think they are.
Well, we'll have
Might
to
be
check.
something to look into there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can get Kyle to quote all those homeowners policies.
I love quoting homeowners policies.
All right. Well, we've been going for a while. Before we wrap up, Michael, what's the biggest lesson you've learned since you've had your agency? What's the number one thing that you've learned that you would say would be good advice for anybody else out there, whether it be from a sales standpoint or an operational standpoint?
I think going back to what I mentioned earlier, every agent is looking for that secret sauce. They're looking for it to be done for them. No one wants to go out there and just do it, even though that's all you have to do. If you want to be successful in the insurance world, find out what you want to do, what specific niche or what road you want to travel down, and then just go out there and do it. You had mentioned the guy that told you, hey, you'd be great in the insurance world because everybody in the insurance world is just average. I think that's why you see these different vendors pop up and why they're so popular in the insurance world, because they promise, hey, I'll do this for you, I'll do this for you, I'll solve this problem for you. No agent wants to actually solve their own problem by just doing the work. So everyone, again, is looking for that secret sauce.
Yeah, I think it's true, man. Everybody expects you to have a magic wand,
Yep.
right? So even people who come through our training program, I'm not going to go out and sell for them,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to give them the information. I'm going to use a buzzword. I'm going to flatten the curve and I'm going to show them, after 15, 20 years of doing this is the best way to do it with the best close rates, best retention for exactly what you're looking to write.
Yep.
But you still got to do the work,
Yep.
man. I mean, and that's the whole thing. And I just can't get my arms around that. That's not what's in my DNA. That's not
Yep.
how I've ever been in my life, period.
Yep.
Like I will get after it. I could be a multi-millionaire and I'm still going to get out of work and I'm going to grind every day because I would get bored. I know how I am. I mean,
yeah. Yep. But yeah, you're different, obviously. You're different than most agents, that's for sure. Most people.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
Yeah, that's why you've been so successful. We had a YouTube training yesterday on Nick's course, and the lady that was training, she's huge in YouTube, and she just kept saying the difference between making it on YouTube and not making it on YouTube is just sticking with it. Just get your plan in place. Don't stop on that plan. Keep going, and eventually you're going to be successful.
That's true for most things.
It is true for most things. Yeah.
I think it's interesting though with social marketing, it seems like that's the dynamic regardless of what the platform is. I think, and I've got a lot of guys that I'm friends with that are social media marketing consultants, have companies, whatever else. And it's crazy because every single one of them has said the same thing to me at one point or another. They say everybody quits just before they would have been successful. Like and that's the whole thing, man. Everybody works to a certain point. This industry the same. They work to a certain point, and that's where all of them drop off.
Yep.
And then they drop off, and the ones who continue to push are the ones who eventually come over the side, and they're really, really successful. Last question before we cut out. How is Better Agency working for you?
I love Better Agency. I'll tell you the one thing that I love about it, and I think this says everything. They are 100% willing to listen to agents and make changes and adjust accordingly. They're not building a system the way they think it should be built. They're building a system based off of how agents who are actually doing the work want it to be built, which I love.
So what has been your biggest success using it so far?
Basically, in the past, I had issues where quotes would come in, we would quote them, it wouldn't work out. We would try and put them in our follow-up, but every so often they would just fall through the cracks. With Better Agency, nothing's fallen through the cracks. The follow-up is phenomenal. The cross-selling is phenomenal. Basically, the system does all of that for me to where I don't have to put my own systems in place to track that. Better Agency is tracking that for me and following up with it for me.
And it's pretty much out of the box that way, right? Like how much customization did you have to do for any of that?
If you don't want to, you don't have to do any customization. I like to go in there and change a few things. Soon I'm going to be adding some of my own videos in there as well. But if you don't want to, you don't have to do anything. It's pre-built, and from day one, you're up and running 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm watching what's going on. Obviously I'm buddies with those guys, and we've talked back and forth about things that they need to be thinking about as they're building out the commercial piece of that.
Yeah.
I'm pulling for them. My problem is I've invested well over $100,000 in HubSpot. You couldn't pry me out with a crowbar at this point.
Yep, I don't blame you.
And that's the thing. When you build a customized solution like that, you're doing it for life.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not gonna. We were talking to Chris Green, and they're jacking him around on his renewal and trying to raise it to a ridiculous rate.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think I'm just going to leave. I'm like, dude, you've got to be kidding me, man. There's no way. I would just suck it up. The amount of time that you're going to have to spend to rebuild that everywhere else is going to be way more than what it's worth.
Exactly. I agree. And he's put a lot into his HubSpot. I know.
Yeah. That guy, like it's nuts, man. He's like, what's that movie? A Beautiful Mind or whatever with Russell Crowe or whatever it was. Like, you put that guy in front of HubSpot. He's or a Good Will Hunting when Matt Damon's like writing that massive equation or whatever. That's Chris Green's whiteboard for his HubSpot.
He won't find that anywhere else. That's for sure.
No, not at all. Well, listen, man, I'm glad you got to come on today. It was good talking with you. I appreciate you sharing with us.
Thanks for inviting me on.
I'm looking forward to seeing the new YouTube channel kick out, and looking forward to continue to watch the stuff you're putting out for Personal Lines as well. If anybody wants to follow you, tell them where they can follow you again.
All right. So the YouTube channel is The Garden Nerd. My Instagram is The Garden Nerd as well. You can follow me both those places.
Good deal, man. Well, Michael, I hope you have a good weekend. I hope that your harvest is bountiful.
That's the best compliment, or not a compliment, whatever it was. That's the best I've ever gotten. Harvest is bountiful. I love it.
the best well wishes.
Well wishes. There you go.
You can use that across any platform you want, whether it be insurance or growing.
There you go.
All right, man.
Hey, I appreciate it, David. Thanks for inviting me on.
Michael.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon.
Right,
see you.
You've been listening to the Power Producers Podcast. You can follow Killing Commercial Insurance on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our book, The Extra 2 Minutes, and our website, killingcommercial.com.